Hello, and welcome, folks, to another Wednesday night. This time with no storms, no power outages, or any of that sort of stuff. It's a nice summer day here in Michigan, sunny, and yeah. So hopefully, I apologize for last week. We got an hour in anyway, but it's taken kind of abruptly offline by the internet outage, not the power outage. The generator was running fine, but the internet outage struck for better part of a day actually. We didn't get our power back as well till maybe about a day and a half later. So I think we'll have a fun little hangout here tonight. I got a whole list of notes. It feels like there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened around our interest space, around our hobby space, around the home theater space here. Just in the last few days, I've got some new ideas to try out tonight for kind of content in these live streams. So to tease a few things, one of our special activities here, I'm going to have to disable the special background, I think, when we get to playing around with that. But this is, I'll do it right in front of me so we can see. This is the Control4 Halo Touch. Or actually, yeah, the touch. This is the non-touch. The only hard button, no touch screen. This has the touch screen. Mr. Dan DiCarlo, my friend and Southeast Michigan custom installer, Control4 home automation expert, and all of that, dropped this off just yesterday, I think it was. I haven't even opened it yet. So as we're hanging out here later on in the stream, we will go ahead and open this up. I will give some hands-on live impressions, how I feel about the touch versus the non-touch. I had actually already bought from Dan 2 of these. Been running one in the living room, been running one in the theater. I quite like it. Everything that I read and the folks that are other dealers and whatnot that I know, Matt Blair, I think, just posted these as well to his social media that he has them in stock or has them available at least. Everybody tells me that they really like the touch. I was hoping to not like the touch as much just because I didn't necessarily want to spend even more money on what was already an expensive piece of home theater accoutrement. So we'll see. See how those impressions go. Some other topics that I want to touch on tonight is some of the interesting Blu-ray physical media news that's been kind of going around of late. Of course, we are on the eve of Audio Advice Live. I will be in Raleigh tomorrow, starting for the event. There's some closed door stuff going on, I think, Thursday night, and then the doors open to everybody Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We did actually watch a movie this week and had a really weird occurrence with my projector that actually kind of made me pucker in the seat a little bit. So I got an interesting picture that I want to share. I'm curious if anybody else has ever seen or had this happen in your home theater. So all that and a whole lot more. So we are here and let's have some fun. So sound off in the comments. Let me know who's out there. I see a couple of folks are already commenting. We have Ren. Oh, a new member, recurring member. Credit card was out of date after some fraud. Oh, credit card fraud sucks. We've had some credit card numbers stolen in the past. We actually a long time ago had my wife's social security number nicked to open a cell phone account, and it showed up on our credit report. We found it like years later. That was quite the hassle in terms of getting that removed. She actually had her purse stolen once as well. And we kind of watched in real time that night as initially some of the charges were starting on the card before we got it shut down and all that. So interesting life, interesting times. Julius, welcome, my friend. Oh, we got a lot of regulars here. Sammy, what's up? Have you seen the Control4 Core Light bundle? I have not. Control4 Core Light. I think actually it's like the smallest controller in one of the remotes. Is that right? Maybe I have seen this. Control4 Core Light. So actually I am broadcasting from the office, so we can actually do some good screen shares tonight and all of that. Control4 Core Light hub and controller for the single room. Interesting. This brings the entry point of Control4 down. for just specifically that single room. That's pretty neat. Do that and throw one of these. Yeah, here it is. Control4 single room bundle. Of course, Snap doesn't give you a price, but that's the Halo Touch, non-touch. Get these mixed up. That's the non-touch, and then the Core Light controller. I'll have to ask Dan what these cost. If anybody's interested in these, yeah, let me know. I had been talking with him. I actually saw Mr. Dan DeCarlo today. He was in the neighborhood actually servicing another house, one of my neighbors of all things. And I learned a little bit about the neighbor's house that might make for an interesting tour and some content for the channel. We'll see about that. But I completely lost my train of thought. But so we have the remote. Man, wow, I'm drawing a blank on that one. Okay, we'll come back to that. But Core Light bundle, that is cool. That is cool. So I'm very curious to see what the pricing might be on that. Rob, just going through some other chats here. Awesome. So a lot of channel regulars with us tonight. If anybody new folks are out there as well, sound off. Let me know. Let me know who you are. What's going on? They fixed it. Yeah, the credit card. Now just using the Apple Card. Nice. Jack C, I think that's a new name. Can you watch Audio Device Conference live? I don't. Well, so there's going to be, I think, 7 or 8 YouTube creators, content creators there. Myself included, Youthman. Last year, Gene from Audioholics was there. Aaron from Aaron's Audio Corner. There's a whole bunch of us. So I don't think you'll be say hard up for Audio Advice Live content. That said, I don't think there's any particular or specific live stream from the event coming directly. But I don't know, maybe if they do, we'll see how many of the panel conversations and stuff they had. I believe the itinerary has a little bit less of those this year than they had last year. I quite liked them actually, so I hope they don't cut back on those too much. But I think those might have ended up on their YouTube page. So at least after the fact, you may be able to watch some of the content coming from there. Terminator, welcome, my friend. Yeah, Dan, quote me Control4 for my room. Can't justify the price. Well, hey, check out the single room bundle now. If that wasn't what he quoted before, I know that they had another smaller. The smallest system used to be the smallest controller, which still I think was bigger than this one. So pretty cool. And just shout out to other friends here, Michael Wallace. Yeah, so Michael and I, we've been talking a lot this week. And that might lead into some interesting discussion coming up as well, future contents and all that. Matthew Paul, welcome, love your content. Yeah, sorry to hear physical media is dying. Yeah, so I want to pull up an article and we'll talk a little bit about that. And holy moly, wow, JXC, $49.99 super chat. That is literally the largest single donation I have ever had on the channel. Thank you, my friend. That's phenomenal. Thank you. You made my night. Help pay for that plane ticket and all the money that I'll be spending this weekend at the show. Much appreciated. And so I will do my best to provide some hopefully unique and fun content out of being at the event for the second time. Last year I kind of crashed it. I just attended myself and was able to meet a bunch of folks and meet folks at Audio Device. This time I was invited specifically as a press attendee. So it's fun. It's really cool to be recognized. The channel's growing and things are going in interesting directions and all of that. So yeah, I just ordered my new merch. I put a picture up on Instagram. I got some nice like Techthusiasm logo polo shirts and stuff. So I'm going serious. All right, we'll take a couple more comments here, and then I want to jump into some of our content. Single room basic package 1,500 plus 200 to 300 a program. Yeah, so I'd imagine that core might get you down under $1,000. I'll definitely have to ask Dan about that and report back. Jack asking, he's got some questions. What type and length? What type and length cable are you running from Projector to your Anthem? I am using an RUI Pro HDMI 2.1 48 gigabits fiber optic cable. The length is 65 feet, I believe is what that one is. Works perfect. I have 2 runs of the same cable between my rack and my living room, the G2. Can't see it now because I got the old school background. This is Theater 1.0 in the background there. But yeah, they're 48 gigabits. I have used those cables at 48 gigabits and they work great using them with PC, 4090 GPU, 444 color, 12-bit, uses the at 4K 120. We're talking the full 48, and those cables have worked rock solid, reliably for me. Available from Amazon, in all kinds of different lengths. Nominally might run you like 100 to 250 bucks or so. So yeah, redoing your own theater, awesome, cool. Yeah, I'm happy to lend any advice, and I'm really good at helping people spend their money. So on tech and all this sort of stuff. So yep, 18 gig or high. Yep, they're 48 RUI Pro. And they've got a variety of different ones as well. They've actually they actually reached out to me and offered me up some of their cables. I'm like, I don't really need any. I've already been using them, but maybe I'll see if I can request some. We'll do some. I like getting some more stuff for channel giveaways and all of that sort of things. Is the cable powered? It is. No, well, wait. Well, it's fiber optic, so it's different. Their fiber optic is a powered cable inherently. That's different from the idea of like a copper cable being an active cable. I think if that's what you're asking. So because that HDMI signal is being converted essentially into light and sent along the glass of the cable. But those cables, they don't take an extra power connection or anything like that. It's just they use the HDMI bus power directly itself. Michael saying, what length is active fiber important? Yeah, I would say nominally about greater than 25 feet is when I would probably want to just go to fiber active. Go to fiber anyway, probably. I've got about 40 foot, I think it is, between the rack and the living room TV, and then 65. I believe it's 65 to get from my rack to the projector, because in that room that cable snakes around a little bit. Might have been a little less than that. Could have been 50, but in any case, somewhere in that range. A couple of quick housekeeping things. I mentioned this last time, but I wanted to put it in again. I've still been tinkering with the idea of like this bio site. So if you're looking for some way to kind of just quickly follow me and stuff that's going on, I'm going to try to keep this thing up to date. Get access to various links. You can get to my Instagram, where I've been posting a lot more kind of just the personal-ish stuff. Still doing a lot of community posts in that as well, but I'm trying to use IG a little bit more as well, make it a little more personal. So that's there. I made that last week. Feel free to check it out. If anybody has any critiques or suggestions for improvement, do let me know. I'll throw it in there also. Where'd it go? I have updated the spread shop quite a bit also. So there's all kinds of new stuff in there. I added hats. I added gym clothes. I'm actually going to order some gym clothes, the tanks, the performance tanks. I tweaked the logo a little bit, dropped the crypto icon. We never talk crypto here on the channel, and pretty much done talking about the Tesla as well. We're home theater and hi-fi. So that stuff is all there. I think there'll be another sale coming up in mid-ish August. So if you are looking for any Techthusiasm swag, might be best to wait a couple weeks. And then the other thing, my only other ask would be, we're on the road to 10K. So I set a goal trying to maybe get the channel to 10K by Labor Day. 9271 is where we are today. I think there's actually a good realistic shot of being a 10K channel by the start of the school year. So that will be cool. So if you know anybody that hasn't participated in the channel, joined the community, but would be interested in the content, would benefit from the content, might learn and share and want to join in, by all means, let them know and invite them on in. Michael's asking, do we talked about Disney yet? Not yet. I'm going to pull that up. We'll go into that topic next. I don't want to jump right into the remote. Let's talk about some of the other kind of general things going on first. So let's go there. Wanted to show this page and take a look at this article. So Bill Hunt, the Digital Bits. Bill, I haven't spoken with him in a while, but we crossed paths a few years ago, kind of in the hobby space and a little bit in the business space. Was he runs this site. This is a really great site, actually, for those of you out there that are physical media fans and still, trying to be physical media collectors. If you haven't discovered the digital bits, this is a really, really great site for kind of following what's going on with physical media releases and the state of the studios, and a lot more as well editorial than just saying like this is what's coming out. Bill and any of the folks that he collaborates there on his content really go into more detail about like what the studios are doing and why, and critiquing things and all that. Um, so we had a couple things happen. The biggest one was the news that had just come out, I think, within these last couple of days. Let me click on this one as well. Screen Rant here. They published, 2 days ago. So Disney's the one in the news here the most. Disney strikes major blow against physical media, stops DVD and Blu-ray distribution in Australia. So, but what starts to happen around the world is, I would imagine, only going to proliferate. So I actually had, there was another column that Bill had done. This one here. I'll paste these links into the chat if anybody wants to kind of follow along and read with them. This is the one that I wanted to chat a little bit about as well. And I'm going to reach out to Bill, actually. I'm curious if he might be interested to kind of collab and do a live or something and talk about some of these concepts together. So a couple of columns there linked. Bill wrote, he wrote both of these. So down, kind of buried in the first one, maybe not so buried. Oh, it's at the top, actually. Oh, no, wait, this is not the right one. Well, essentially, what I had read in his, no, right here. Yeah, this is the statement that was surprising to me. Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment is pulling out of the Australian market in terms of physical media. This follows similar moves in Asia, save for Japan, and Latin America. And the reason is apparently down to the gradual collapse of physical disc sales in those regions, the growth of Disney Plus streaming, and the rise of global retailers. Exactly sure what impact the rise of global retailers comes into play there. You would think actually the rise of global retailers would be a reason to keep physical media around, because they can sell physical media to everybody around the world and ship it to them. So I don't necessarily follow the third, but streaming, there's a lot of there's been, I think we're starting to see some new developments, and I think we'll see more. I talked a little bit about it last week, whereby like Paramount Plus, some changes and merging going on there with Showtime and other things kind of merging together. Peacock prices going up. The other scuttlebutt that came out a week or so ago, actually, that almost made it sound like Disney was going to offload some of its entertainment elements, perhaps Marvel and whatnot. That wasn't necessarily the case and not coming to pass. But essentially, as soon as any of these content holders, right, studios, starts to pull back, I think there will be a bit of a domino effect here. And so if Disney's doing it, then you better believe that business managers and whatnot at the other studios are evaluating their situations and considering their options and figuring out what could be a better road to profitability for them. So I did read this whole article. I thought it was really well written and interesting. He just published this one today. That's the one at the second link. So I'd recommend after the live stream tonight, before you go to bed, if you're looking for kind of a really deep editorial about a bit of the sad state, right? The sad state of physical media. This is a really good one. And he particularly calls out Disney for the pullouts and Warner Brothers as well, which is interesting. I have to admit, I'm not a big physical media collector anymore. Admittedly, I talk a lot more here about digital ownership and the fact that I'm kind of comfortable with digital ownership. I talk a lot about Apple iTunes. I've got a big library there. And then, of course, Kaleidescape, where I also have an equally large library. But he mentions about both Warner and Disney for that matter, like making really poor physical media releases. So some of Bill's consternation about the state of physical media isn't solely in this treatise here on the idea of it as a diminishing thing. Of course, that's about the worst thing that can happen. But he talks quite a bit about Warner Brothers and like a string of releases with problems, reported problems that they've kind of gone silent on, and say, one of the big values per se of being a physical media collector is getting the whole package of the movie and the special features, and you want the whole shebang when you're really like, I think, in that collector ish mentality. And so he comments in here about there being a string of Warner Brothers releases, or basically they're pulling back on special features being included on the disc or in the package, and actually like a specific reference that like special features and extras and all of that are going like digital only, calling out Disney for some of their poor mastering processes and results. The the relatively lackluster Atmos that we get, I guess, on a lot of Disney discs, the lack of bothering to put Dolby Vision grades and stuff um, onto the disc, and complaining also about the idea of like using too small of discs essentially, and slamming big movies with inferior encodes onto BD66s, or in some cases even smaller, which I thought was a really interesting. Um, Not only he's talking about Disney here, not only they refused to include Dolby Vision HDR on any of their discs, to the extent that they actually had it removed in later pressings of one of the Star Wars titles. They intentionally squeeze every 4K title into UHD 66 to save a buck, when most of the films in question would greatly benefit from 100 gigabit discs and gigabyte discs instead. The result, 4K video appears lifeless and overcompressed compared to similar titles from other studios. Where, oh, where can we find a solution, a content delivery system in our hobby that delivers high fidelity and is free from not arbitrary, but say physical logistical limitations like the size of a physical disc, Kaleidescape. So this whole thing, I talk about it a lot, and I've done it myself. I made this transition myself, but and in some of the comments already kind of coming in that popped up today and whatnot, is folks commenting that they're considering Kaleidescape more seriously now, with some of this dust up and some of this news and all of that. So I have to say, if you're looking ahead to where your content library is going to come from in the future in this hobby and whatnot, this could be the turning point, or a beginning point for a lot of upcoming change and whatnot. So, and for all the folks that go further with their physical media, do the DIY servers and you're ripping your discs and all that stuff, I've said for a long time, one of the cons of that as a solution for building up your content library and access to it is you can only rip what you can buy. So if the content is not there for you to purchase, you can't rip it. So as goes the disc, the full-on disc collector, disc user, so goes the Plex user and the Infuse user, and all of that. So curious what folks think about this. Is anybody out there having anything in mind about changing their approach to content, warming up to any other options and whatnot? I'm gonna scroll back through some comments and catch up a little bit. Jack C mentioned, I bought a Kaleidescape because of your channel. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I wear it very publicly. Like I want to be the best channel, the best, say, content source talking about Kaleidescape, talking about it openly, talking about it honestly, pros and cons, how-tos, and all of that. And I said it in a bunch of videos going back a ways. I want Kaleidescape to thrive, because, and this is exactly the reason why. unless or until Apple decides to do 100 megabit video encoded streaming and lossless audio, but as of yet they haven't seen fit to do it. So until that day comes, our next best option, and it's Kaleidescape, and nobody else is lining up to challenge them. We'll see what's out there. CEDIA is only a few weeks away, a handful of weeks away at this point, but I don't think we're going to see anybody announcing a Kaleidescape competitive system. So we have in this hobby, in this niche, whatnot, we have what we have, and so we really want our options to be able to make it. When one of the options that a lot of people are so vested in and interested in and all of that seems like it's really on some shaky ground at the moment. So Terminator saying the death of physical rental stores and biggest hit to physical media. Yeah, I was around for the advent of rental, video game rental, movie rental, and all that. Watched its whole demise. There's some good books out there as well. Netflixed. I think it's been a long time since I've read that one, but and then there was another one that I read about kind of like the history and the demise of Blockbuster. I forget the title of that. I love business books that cross over into my hobby interest. I'm still kind of making my way through a variety of like comic book, business and history books at the moment. But yeah, times change. Julia Sam, still physical media guy. Yep. Ordered Pee Wee Herman's Big Top movie yesterday. Oh yeah, he just passed away. We watched Big Adventure with the family not too long ago, actually, maybe a year or two ago. Yeah, I remember. I was right in the wheelhouse of Pee Wee Herman and his show as a older adolescent and whatnot. Cracked me up. Michael saying, does seem like there's still a strong commitment to remaster 4K movies. Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And actually, we'll talk a little bit about that later and kind of what I was considering as a new segment for the lives. So there were a couple of interesting or I think really cool 4K upgrades that made it to digital this week or within the last, say, week and a half. Specifically, Jaws 2, Ferris Bueller's Day Off got a 4K upgrade on Kaleidescape. Is where I saw it anyway. And then World War Z got updated as well. So Kevin, one other issue no one is talking about when it comes to physical media is the lack of high-speed internet. Yeah, so that's the bummer is if you can't, you can't get, if you can't stream, and you can't buy a disc, what do you have left? Cable? Who wants to watch a movie on broadcast cable? The one thing, I guess, the value, the benefit of Kaleidescape is that you can get high fidelity if, say, you have low speed but enough of a data cap, you're still okay, right? It means that you're not going to be in the situation that like I'm in, and a lot of other folks are as well, where with the Terra we can download a 4K movie nominally in 10 minutes, 12 minutes, certainly under 15, essentially on demand watching at that point. But hey, if it takes you all night to download John Wick or Guardians 3 or whatever, but the day comes and you can't buy a disc, at least you can still get high fidelity if you've still got a kind of room in a rural area or in an area that doesn't have that type of service. But you got to have a higher data cap. Slower speed is fine. Again, if you can like kick off the download and watch it the next evening or something like that, watch it the next day, so be it. But you still have to be able to accommodate the cap size to download those movies. And usually I would say the slower your speed kind of coincides with a lower data cap as well. So yeah, so Michael, sound is rich. You have to hear it. So Michael is newly minted into the Kaleidescape Club, and since this past weekend. So we've been chatting, and more to come on that. Just rolling through some more of these comments. Matthew, Paul saying digital-only libraries run the risk of losing access to content. Yep, due to being pulled, lost songs on Spotify, movies on iTunes. Yeah, there absolutely is no perfect solution because like no one thing is everything. Yeah, it's only pros and cons and trade-offs. This hobby comes with a lot of trade-offs, I would say. and ultimately you got to decide what kind of elements you're prepared to trade off for. I have lost some digital content as well. I've lost games in my Xbox library or PlayStation libraries. Um, the gaming industry to me feels more harsh when it comes to when something gets delisted. They're more likely to go in and take them away from your library. Not always. I have games probably in multiple digital libraries, Steam, Xbox, and maybe even PlayStation 2, but where games were delisted for sale, but they're still in my library. But I feel like I recall more instances where the stuff was fully ripped out of my library as well. Um, I don't I can't point to too many times in the past when movie content, video content, um, was ripped out of my library. And really, I've used the example before. The only one that I specifically really remember um, that fully went away was Transformers, the 1986 Transformers animated movie. Was in HD in the stores. I lost it in both Kaleidescape and in iTunes, and then it came back in 4K, and I didn't have it anymore. I ended up rebuying it. So in that instance, call me a sucker or whatever, um, but I'm sure there might have been other pieces of content, maybe minor ones here or there that might have disappeared from my libraries. My only caveat is that my libraries are large. I think I've got 13 or 1400 movies on K and maybe 1500 plus on iTunes. So I don't necessarily have a record or an in memory listing of all of that. The the one thing that drives me a little batty when it comes to digital is when and I'd say iTunes is a little worse with this than Kaleidescape. Kaleidescape is pretty good about because of the fact that they'll if they improve the movie or they get a new master or they get a fixed up version, they will re-encode it and they'll push it um, as an update in place, and so without having to rebuy it. But maybe it's a little bit more to licensing, or maybe because I've been a customer there longer as well. But there's definitely been a number of movies where I've owned them in iTunes, but then they they take the listing that you owned away, and then the movie gets refreshed in the store, but it's like a separate it's a separate entry. And that happened. I think that happened with a number of Marvel and some Disney stuff in the past, where I think maybe before Disney owned Marvel and the first movies were coming out, and I got them with digital codes or whatnot, and then those codes weren't necessarily the Disney license. Um, so some goofiness like that tends to happen, not very often, but that's the one thing that irks me a little bit on in terms of iTunes. Terminator saying zero interest in Kscape or Plex at this point. So, are you refresh me or refresh for everybody? Terminator, are you streaming or are you just you're using discs? Just play the disc. Yep, there you go. A lot of Kaleidescape. I think happy Kaleidescape folks in the channel community. Um, yeah, the longer I've had my MP5, the less I feel the need for 4K disc. Oh, wow, interesting. Over standard Blu-ray, unless the Atmos is locked to the UHD version. I'm curious on that statement. If you want to qualify that a little bit, why um, you're not noticing a quality difference between them? Because if you're watching the 4K version, you're also talking about giving up HDR. Not only are you giving up the resolution, but you're giving up the dynamic range too. Rob, did you see the Batman had an HDR update? Yeah, audio update. Yeah, there was shoot, I didn't I should have noted it actually for what I wanted to do later on in the live stream, one of the segments. But yeah, the Batman had an update. I think 2 or 3 movies that I actually had downloaded to my Terra at the moment showed up in the update list, and I just clicked through and updated them all. I always do that when something pops up in there. But yeah, there's quite a lot of content activity in the Kaleidescape ecosystem this past week in terms of updates, new stuff being listed, things being fixed, and so on. More content sets being added. That's a hard one to say through the braces. Still wearing these stupid things. I actually have to change them to the second tray tomorrow, so I'm probably gonna see how that goes. Chintapit, welcome back. Oh, you get the new LG update. I just saw in some feed, Twitter feed, or somewhere a little bit earlier today that there was a auto dimming fix pushed out to the 2022 model LGs. I haven't really looked into it yet. I'll have to probably check the owner's thread on AVS or go see where somebody might be talking about it. I just have the TV set for auto updates, so when the firmwares come, they just get pushed. And for the most part, the TV works great to me and looks great. So I haven't paid a lot of attention to what might have been or happened in a given update. But interesting that one seemed like a pretty major thing. So I might have to go looking at that a little more deliberately. Excuse me. Kevin's saying, when it comes to delisting movies, games, ebooks, they should automatically be required to refund any cost. Yeah, that would be nice for sure. I'd along the way too. I'd love to be able to delete something from my library or turn it, rescind my right for like a credit equal to a third or something of the original purchase price. The one digital store where I would have been inclined to do that more than anywhere, it actually doesn't really have to do with movies. It has to do with comics, digital comics on Comixology, because I flip-flopped over the years with my digital comic collection of the stuff that I was buying, between buying individual issues, and then they started doing more like digital trade collected edition releases. And so I found that I really like having the collected editions in my digital collection and reading them digitally that way than individual issues. So I bought a lot of single issues, granted on super sale, because I usually buy on digital platforms. I always try to buy on sale. And so I bought a lot of 99-cent or less single issues and stuff, but it added up to be quite a lot. And then I ended up with having the trade and the single issue, which is stupidly redundant. So totally being like a digital content purchasing sucker in that regard. But yeah, nobody has seen fit yet to come up with a turn in, refund back structure, I think, in a digital store. So we'll see. Somebody might be the first there. Ren saying 4K streaming catch up on the video side. Yeah, it'll be closer. It'll be close. Yep. Audio will always suffer. Well, maybe not. So, I mean, I've done the videos where the amount of bits, they can add a lot more bits of video than they would need to add to be able to stream lossless audio. So I think we could get there. The whole system can get there. It's just a matter of will we get there, and when might we get there? We'll see. We will see. Randman, welcome. Hans Zimmer Live in Prague just became available at UHD. Not a cheap upgrade. I presume you're talking about on K. We can take a look at that. Can take a look at that in a little bit. I want to kind of pull up the store. And again, so my idea was basically to do kind of a This Week in Kaleidescape segment of the live stream, because it's a topic that people are really interested in. And I think it's fun to do, take what new releases, and it applies to not just to Kaleidescape, but if something is coming to K, it's probably coming to iTunes, and who knows, maybe it'll still come to disc, maybe not. So we'll jump into there. Terminator saying, I don't see any significant difference between UHD. HDR is basically tone map down SDR brightness. Yeah, interesting. So speaking here, let me show this off while we're talking about projectors. This was pretty fun. So the other night, we did a family movie pick. My wife picked Lyle Lyle Crocodile. So anybody seen Lyle Lyle, or if you have kids, have you read the books with your kids? I don't remember reading those books with my kids, but we did watch the movie. Had some fun with it. I thought it was pretty good. Overall, it definitely skewed a little bit young at times, and I kind of think almost that Paddington was a little more funny than Lyle, but it had some heart, and we had fun with it. It made my wife cry. But so we're downstairs, we're sitting in the theater, and turn everything on. actually just about ready to start playing the movie, and all of a sudden the projector image blinks, and this is what I'm looking at. I took the picture on the Apple TV UI. We were on the Kaleidescape. We watched the movie on the Kaleidescape. Um, we were on the Kaleidescape when it happened, but you can see how like the color shift happened here. I don't know. Has this ever happened to anybody with your projector? There was no noise. There was no pop. There was no malfunction. There was just kind of like a blip, and then whoop, all these like convergence or whatever shifted. And then I flipped to the Apple TV, and it thinking maybe okay, we'll change inputs and we'll change back. Um, and it's stuck. So I'm like, oh my god, I was freaking out. My son's like, that's pretty funny, Dad. I'm like, no, that's not funny. It's not funny if our like several $1,000 projector dies. We got enough stuff around the house like consistently breaking. At 10 years, I am tired of buying things that I wasn't planning to buy, that I have to end up buying to replace the prior version of itself that broke or wore out or whatever. I just spent $480 today on smoke alarms, smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, because the house is 10 years old. And wouldn't you know, you are supposed, for your own health and safety, you're supposed to replace all of those alarms in your houses every 10 years. And ours are, of course, connected into the security system and the alarm, and it's all smart and whatever. So yeah, $480 today on that. But so I turned the projector off, I turned it back on, and everything was fine after that. But I puckered in my seat for a moment there, crossing my fingers while we waited for the bulb to cool down and then be able to turn it back on again. And it um, came back fine, and it didn't exhibit any of this kind of behavior uh, again, thankfully. So I'm hoping it was just a one-off anomaly, and yeah, we never experienced that again. But it was a harrowing few minutes there. Yeah, right. Yeah, that'd be an easy 10, 14K. I want an NZ9. If I'm going to upgrade this NX7 next projector, I want to go all the way. I want that 100mm lens, and I want that extra throw distance to fill up more of the screen space that I'm not filling up at the moment. Here, Rob saying, "Oh, mine been doing that too with colors." What's your projector, Rob? I'm sure you've mentioned it in the past, but I don't remember offhand. Is it a JVC? Let's see, Terminator saying, "Yep, I had a second MP5 HDMI input one went dead with his original second unit froze up twice. He has some issues with the HDMI port. Yikes." I think JVC actually just pushed some new firmware out as well. Of course, the NX didn't get it. We're pretty much done with updates, I think, on the NX line. Ooh, I don't know if I have the wrong page up. I was going to say I could probably share this quick. I saw it in one of the Facebook groups. I'm in a variety of home theater Facebook groups and so on in my Facebook feed. I'm pretty sure that somebody had posted about a new firmware update available for the NZs. Let's see, maybe we can find it. Available for the NZs, and it might be for your NP5, NP5 as well. Yeah, firmware download. Yep, August. Here it is. August 1st, 2023, version 2.10. Improved connectivity with some third-party HDMI optical fiber cables. So, and we were just talking about optical fiber cables. So it's been a while since there's been a firmware update. This one in late 2022 came from, that was what they announced at CEDIA. They made all these processing improvements and enhancements and whatnot. Those didn't come to the NXs either. It's been a while, November all the way to August for a firmware update on an in-model projector unit. So anyway, if you've got NZs, or I think it applies to the NP5 as well. Let's see, NZs, yeah, DLA MP5. And if you've been having any types of HDMI issues or whatnot, definitely go ahead and grab this update, I would say. That's the only patch note, but it is a firmware update, so who knows what else there might be in there. I actually have that noted. I'm going to make a little bit of a rant video about the sorry state of patch notes and information about updates nowadays with like so much of the devices that we use. I work in software development. I've worked in professional software development for 25 plus years, 16 years building and leading desktop software at a company. We put out patch notes, and I can definitely tell you, like, there's a lot more always under the hood than makes the bullet list. So one of the reasons, being in the industry, when I see new software version for something come out, a lot of people take the tack, well, like, well, don't update if you're not having a problem. Now, screw that. You have no idea what kind of other improvements and sub release note changes and bug fixes and other things, stability improvements and whatever might be in that software. So I always upgrade. Another reason why I always like to run the betas as well. Rob saying, yeah, regular NX7. Cool. I wonder, hopefully, I haven't looked at the owner's thread. Hopefully, like, flipped out color convergence is not a late life NX7 manifestation. We'll see. We'll see. Rest assured, if I continue to see more of that, I'll mention it, or I'll be talking about it here. And actually, I'll see the JVC guys this weekend as well. Maybe they'll let me bring the NX or the NZ9 in one of the demo rooms home. Michael's asking, what makes you JVC over Sony? Black levels, basically, and the fact that I was awestruck when JVC added the adaptive frame tone mapping to the in model NX series the first year after it came out. So I'm very drawn to companies that improve existing product in considerable ways. So that gained a lot of credibility. What's the word I'm looking for? Loyalty, I guess, when they did that. So I think overall, in the market right now, JVC is the preference. Yeah, mentioned JVC. I wonder if this year they're going to replace the NZ. I don't think so. We'll find out. Cydia would be the time. I would kind of expect that we'll see another year of firmware, just like last year, and then 2024 we'll get a new model projector. That's kind of what I'm hoping as well, because I probably am not in any position to buy like a level of an NZ9 projector this year, and I would be very disappointed to maybe buy it and then have a new model come out 1 year, less than 1 year later. So my hope would be that the new models come out in 2024, or they'll get announced at Cydia 2024. They'll come out shortly after, maybe even early 2025. And at that point, hopefully I could be in position to sport whatever the new model equivalent of the NZ9 is. That's my hope and my goal. So I'll be chatting with them tomorrow. And again, we'll see for sure what's going on out of Cydia. I'm pretty excited about Cydia. As usual, just like every WWDC, I get excited for what we may, what potential cool things we may get out of Apple. Cydia is the time and the place to get excited about what cool potential things we may get out of the big brands and the big companies in this space. And Kaleidescape, man, they're the ones for me at Cydia. Cydia is their show. It's their show to win. They're going to be in every demo booth at that place again. I expect. Again, I don't expect that anybody's going to come out and announce a product to challenge them. But this is the time. If there's going to be some new K hardware, if there's going to be major software changes, features, whatever. I have to say, I was a little disappointed. out of Cydia last year for K. The big news was more kind of like partnerships, and the news was like how prevalent they were at the show. It's like, okay, that's great. You're doing awesome. But we want to see features and engineering make our players and systems and all of that stuff better. There's so many things that they could do, and so far, like I have to say, Kaleidescape this year they've been hitting strong. Start of the year we had the disc to digital program changes. We had the re-edition of the remote, the regular flow of content into the store, price reductions. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple of other things, but it's kind of been hit after hit after hit. So I hope they keep the streak alive, and we see some big awesome news coming out of Cedia. Couple of questions. We'll roll through a couple of these questions, then maybe we'll dig into this. Halo here. Chadman, welcome. Prime Video app on Apple TV won't play content. Wow, one app won't play content. Tried everything else. Must be HDMI issue. I don't have too much to offer on that. I think start with basic resetting. Maybe there's a bug. Sometimes apps have buggy releases and they need to be fixed. I can't say the last time I used I can't say it the last time I used Prime Video on my Apple TVs. Probably just in one of the face-offs. The last time I actually watched content probably was The Boys, and that was a while back now. So I do want to watch Invincible. Excited for the next season of that coming, and I think they just put up a little one shot for one of the characters in Invincible, one of the best comic books out there. Awesome run. Robert Kirkman, same creator that did the Walking Dead. Terminator. I have to look and see how to update a JVC. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a web update. That would be a nice improvement. JVC next models, just let the devices update over the internet. They have Ethernet connections and all that. They could do that over an internet-based network. So you'll have to follow the instructions on the page. You have to download it to a USB. You'll throw the USB in the slot on the back of the projector, and then go into the menus, and it'll find the update and all that. Kind of an old school update mechanism for the projectors. A couple comments from Sony only with our projectors, GCZ 380. Yeah, that's a beast. If I could afford one of those, I'd be happy with that. Yeah, or just go all the way and get the Christie. Michael's asking, do you ever go to Cedia? I have not been to Cedia yet. I contemplated maybe trying to make it this year, but I don't think it's in the cards, especially at the kind of the last minute. So I wanted to maybe do M-Wave as well, but we already had the family vacation booked during the M-Wave time. So Audio Device Live is kind of my one Techthusiasm trip this year. We'll see what's in the cards maybe for next year. Yeah, I don't really file projectors much. If I had the money, go Barco or Christie. Yeah, Christie, if you have the money, if you have the means. What's the Ferris Bueller line? If you happen to have the means, I highly suggest picking one up. And that movie just got upgraded to 4K. It's perfectly timely. A couple more questions. We'll dig in the remotes. Adam, I have a Strato C and a Terra. What do you think is a better upgrade? Oh boy, Terra alone or another player and 6 terabyte server? So that's a really big, it depends, my friend. What would you use the second player for? Do you have another zone that really demands and wants to have a Kaleidescape in it, and you really, really want to be able to play your content in both zones? That would be the driving force there. Or is there perhaps another way to solve the problem? Now, I have 2 zones. I have the theater downstairs, and I have the living room back there behind me. And I have one Strato, but I'm able to access it in both rooms because I route the Zone 2 HDMI of my Anthem AVM70 to the G2 television in the living room. And so the Kaleidescape is plugged into the Anthem. It basically serves the theater. However, with the magic of Control4, I can watch Kaleidescape right there in the living room with all the right HDMI routing and stuff like that. So maybe is there a different way to solve your problem, especially if it's really secondary watching? Quite honestly, I don't really watch. I don't really use the K much in the living room. Quite honestly, if I'm watching something that really wants or demands the use of the Kaleidescape, then I'm probably going to the theater to watch it. So otherwise, that's not to say that we've never done it. I've watched a couple movies, and a lot of times though, I'll use the Zone 2 routing, and I'll do the Kaleidescape in the living room when I'm filming some piece of content about how to use it or showing something off with the K in general, because it's a little easier to film in the living room where there's more light and all that stuff than the theater. Um, but 22 tera, if you want to be able to have more content, quite honestly, I'll say too, I found uh, I found 6 terabytes to be a little tight. Um, I tried to pull I tried to pull my Kaleidescape system back some time ago from like a big Tera to just like a Strato S, and six terabyte, it was 100 movies. By the time you like load, by the time I pick a bunch of favorites that I always want to be able to have clickable access to play without waiting, a bunch of movies selected basically for demo scene purposes, um, a large list of movies of like new release stuff or things that like the family would want to watch next, and then other like topical movies. So like when we get into after Thanksgiving ish, I'll download Elf. I'll download and whatever. I'll download a handful. Christmas Vacation. I'll download a handful of Christmas movies. In the summertime, I might have like The Great Outdoors and a few like other kind of movies like that we may go back to and revisit, um, and then delete them until that time of year comes back around again. You add all that stuff up, and I found 100 movies to be a little bit tight. I have a 12 terabyte now. 200 is pretty comfortable. 22 would be pretty awesome. So I also don't know how big your library is, as well, and if you are for putting a requirement on yourself to say like that you want to have every movie you buy in Kaleidescape downloaded, I'm that's something that I'm not going to achieve for myself. Yeah, they don't offer 12 anymore, so that's why I'm contemplating. Yeah, 12 was such a sweet spot, in terms of being less expensive than 22, but bigger than 6. So at least the prices came down a little bit, and there are some promos. And actually, if you have an existing system and you add a 22 right now, you get a $500 movie store credit also. So some extra bonuses there. Should have been asked. There's a new AVR event. I'm not sure about that. If you want to requalify that question, I would happily come back to it. Michael saying, couldn't believe in the Cedia video, so they didn't really make money on content. Yeah, I don't know. I think the problem with content is like it costs them a lot more money, right? So they have to have staff to do the encodes, manage them, monitor metadata updates. They have to pay for serving the content, so every time we go and download a movie, it actually I'm sure I don't know all the insider baseball, so I'll go with a little bit of I'll go out on a limb and make some conjecture, but I would say like they probably want us all to have all our movies downloaded once to local storage and then left there, right? Because they're every time one of us hits their server to download a movie, that's bandwidth, um, and resource costs and whatnot that they have to have available to be able to serve. It's like a bank, right? The bank takes all these deposits from all these people. Everybody comes and withdraws their money at the same time. You got a big run on the system. Same thing, like all of us, the more customers they have, the more load they have on their systems. People with less storage and bigger libraries turning stuff over. Like it's all a cost center. And when they sell a movie, there's cuts all the way down the line for like who actually profits, from the sale of a movie. Pretty interesting, actually. The last book I read, was about like Marvel versus DC, the history of the business of competition between Marvel and DC, and it talked a lot about like rights and profit and like where money goes, and particularly, of course, since superheroes are the basis of Hollywood, or has been for a while here. There was quite a bit of talk in that book about like the movies and where the money goes. So like all the different cut downs, you buy a movie for $30 or something, $25. Pretty amazing the number of pieces of pie that come out of that $25. And so, it's not like Kaleidescape just dropped like $2 to the movie studio and is keeping 23 of that 25. There's a whole lot more. So I think I could believe that the margins are slim, and serving content comes with a continual cost to it. Then, but that's to say, like, the more you can scale, the more customers you could have. Hopefully, the model is set up that it's healthy and they're making more money. Right, the more people buying more content makes more money. Everything is a virtuous cycle, hopefully, rather than a losing one. But yeah, so Ren's saying 22 terabyte alone, and current 6 terabyte if can stomach it. The other way to go, actually, Adam, is if you wanted, you could always try to resell the 6 to recover some money, and then buy the 22 and the second player. Trying to think outside the box a little bit. Yeah, around K hardware pricing, what makes this so terrible? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, 10 to 11K. Yeah, the drives themselves, even though they are high-end drives, they're like enterprise level drives. They're a little more expensive, I think, just in general than your like average, say, NAS drive, but they're not in order of magnitude more expensive. So it is what it is. That's the model. Unfortunately, we live in it. We'll see if something changes. Yeah, movie content. K is probably lucky to get 25% cut, if that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'd love to see those books. Oh, excuse me. Kevin's saying, do you ever see Kaleidescape moving to enterprise SSDs instead of hard drives? I would say only if it becomes cheaper, right? So you really can't. I don't think there's any way that they could provide the level of storage volumes that they're doing with spinning drives in solid state right now, and make the price to any of us buying that stuff even remotely palatable. So that's the problem there. But as technology changes, who's to say if we're still using local storage and everything is around the same way it is right now, maybe that will flip in the future, and solid state storage will have an inversion of cost later on down the road. We'll see. I did see an article not that long ago, actually. I forget what site it was on, but that we've got like 40 terabyte spinning hard drives coming soon. So the sizes just continue to escalate. Imagine a 40 terabyte compact Tera one drive. Pretty wild. Like, used to have 4 drives in a 48 to get even close to get relatively close to that size. So yeah, Michael's saying there's a 22 on the owner's forum for 7K with warranty. So that's another way to go. Also, Adam, would be to go used, scope out Kscape owner's forum, and see if you can snag something there. If you want to build out your system a little bit more, save a little bit of money in doing it. But hey, if you want to help out Techthusiasm, go buy it from Audio Advice. All right, let's open up this Halo and have some fun with this. So probably should have been doing this while we were taking the last comments. So Control4 Halo, again, I've had the non-touch model for a while. I've made some content about it. I put out the videos, kind of how I was programming it for Kaleidescape, Apple TV, and all of that. I actually used the voice prompt when we were in the theater last night. The kids wanted to watch, after we watched the movie Lyle, they wanted to watch extras. They always ask for extras. I think it's just an easy way to ask to like continue watching television for a longer time. But so I flipped over to the Apple TV and boom, hit that voice command, said, hey, show me Lyle Crocodile, because I also bought it on iTunes. Picked it up on sale specifically for that reason. And so I've been liking it. The family though, I'll say the sentiment of the family for the non-touch version of this remote has not been stellar. Too many buttons, a lot of buttons. And I will say as well, like it's big, right? This thing is several inches tall. And so as we can see, this boy is not quite as large. Let me try and get them exactly side by side. So we got what's at a good 1.5 inches less height. So, you know, you're laying on the couch, you got one of these, it's maybe chilly out, or you got the air conditioning on or something, you're sitting in a blanket, you're trying to navigate this thing under the blanket. You got to move it, shuffle it, and all that around a little bit, up and down to get to certain buttons. And as good of a job as they did of like putting a little nub on the 5, and you know, we've got the disc here, you can get a good idea, a little bit of a good idea where your thumb is. There's so many buttons. I just haven't been using it long enough that like I remember where all the buttons is. So even though my thumb can detect kind of, okay, where am I at? I'm above the D-pad, or I'm below the D-pad. It's like, shoot, was that back menu or previous? I don't necessarily remember which one is which. But this guy is, this lady, gender agnostic, is much more svelte. So what are we giving up, right? We're giving up number pad, first of all. Let's see. So the number pad is gone. We've got the same transport control, the stop, pause, or record, stop, record, pause, stop, chapter skips, play, DVR button in between, fast forward and rewind. And then we've just got the page up, page down guide, mute, voice, previous, the D-pad. So we're losing at the top, we're losing the 3 programmable buttons. And so there's a good view of what I'm using those buttons for. Game mode and game bar are a couple of macros that I have in my Control4 setup, specifically for the LG TV. And then fireplace, because this remote has lacked the ability to access the comfort controls of your Control4 system. We had the fireplace. Haven't used the fireplace button in a few months, but used it all the time in the wintertime. And then we lose watch. We lose watch, home, and listen because those functions are part of the touchscreen function. So we'll do the little peel here. Probably should have done that as a YouTube short. Swear to God, peeling the film off of the LG TV, and that one Samsung that Dan sent me is like still the most watched videos on the channel ever. I wish those shorts could monetize like other videos could. I'd have an NZ9 by now, maybe. We've got a charging puck. These are really heavy. I don't want to drop this thing. This is the same. So one of the things that Dan mentioned to me is that, so if you look at the profile of this, it's thick at the bottom, thinner at the top. And this one, yeah, kind of similar. Thicker at the bottom, thinner at the top. But I believe that these pucks are the same. This is smart. So I want to make sure, I got it backwards. I want to make sure to give kudos to Control4. When you make a device, this is great usability. So when you make a device, or say different variations of a device, and somebody may legitimately have it, whoops, that would suck, drop it and break it, may have like this model in one room and this model in another room, but then something happens and you got to use the dock. They both fit and they both charge off of the same dock. So interoperability between them is much appreciated. So other stuff in here, of course, we've got a cable. It's USB-A to USB-C. The dock itself has the USB-C connection on it. There's the wall wart adapter. This is basically just a USB-A charging brick. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different regions worth of plugs. So these, I'll just take one of these out and kind of show it. So these like slide down into this wall wart and you get all the different regions all these different regions in one box. That's pretty much it. Some foam packaging, a nondescript box. These are going to dealers, but it's very well protected in here. Nice sturdy foam packaging, and then setup is pretty much this. Normally your dealer would set this up to Control4 stuff. However, they are trying. Let me put the box together. They are trying with these remotes to make them a little more field adaptable. So we should be able to, without Mr. Dan Carlo's expert Control4 programming skill set, online on the stream right now. I did actually ask him if he wanted to maybe join tonight, but he's at a concert. We should be able to add this to my configuration and make it work. So we are going to need, in order to activate it, you have to use the app, the Control4 app. So I'm going to get this on my iPad. So I am using my iPhone right now. Continuity camera, love it. So I got the Control4 app. Oh, wait, you know what? We don't even need to use the iPad. I think we can do this. I think I can do this in the share. Let's do this. Swing, pop. Control4. Gotta love the Mac, baby. Run those iPhone and iPad apps right there. So that's the Control4, basically the Control4 iPad app available in the Mac App Store. Love it. Works awesome. Okay, so I think we need to go. Ooh, I want to make sure that I don't divulge any secret information here. Let's make sure. Make sure that we are good. Foresight, payment method. Give Ren a credit card number. It's recompense for losing his. All right, I think this looks safe to me. Internet safe. Let's see. I wonder if I actually might be better to just do it this way. There we go. You don't have to deal with all my Batman backgrounds. Okay, so we can see there's an add Halo remote option right here. So I think, there we go. Before you proceed, make sure your Halo remote is fully charged and turn it on. A QR code should appear on the first screen. Okay, so I'm going to actually, you know what, I might need to use the iPad for this because we might have to use the camera. So come on. Should be charged. This will be the most. This will be the shortest unboxing and setup ever if we don't even have any energy in this thing. But what we can do, all right, I'm going to plug it in and see if it comes on. I think we had to do that last time. Bingo. All right, we are starting up. Control4 Touch, Halo Touch. So I may need to actually activate it on the iPad, like I was saying, because I think it'll want the camera of the mobile device. Turn on, my friend. Let's go. There we go. Welcome to Halo. Scan the QR code in the Control4 mobile app by tapping the Control4 menu icon, settings, add Halo remote, and then follow the steps in the app. All right, so I have to do this. I'm going to quit the app on my phone or on my Mac here. We're going to go on the iPad, settings, my Control4 system, add Halo, proceed. Would you like to access the camera? Yes. Proceed. There it goes. Oh, that's funny. It's using the back camera. There we go. Control4 wants to join your Wi-Fi network. Yes. Please wait as we find and connect the Halo remote to your Control4 app. There we go. Bingo. Next, we'll set up Halo remote in your Control4 project and network. The setup will take just a few minutes. Next. Where will your Halo remote primarily be used? We're going to put this in the living room because that's where I do spend more time than the theater. And we're adding the remote to the network. Select a Wi-Fi network. We want these to be on 2.4G usually because I got to type in my Wi-Fi password. I'm not going to share that. Join. Please continue setup on your Halo remote screen. Press the previous button if you need to reconnect to your network. So we are going here, connecting to controller. Close this. You should not need the app anymore. So this might take a few minutes here. Let's grab some of the last couple of comments. Eric Ridgely, welcome. Running with Savant at the moment. Been loving their new control. Yeah, Savant has always been a system that I've been interested. I've never actually played with a Savant setup, but given that Savant is so closely attached to like Apple ecosystem and stuff, their solution always looked pretty cool to me. So we popped up to the screen here really quick, and then now we've got a firmware update. New firmware is being downloaded. That's pretty good. I have noticed that on these as well, that when an update pushed out, I picked it up one time and it's like, oh, there's new firmware available. Would you like to install it? Yeah, sure, of course. Can always take those new firmware upgrades. Dan's been sending me patch notes for this. I actually was thinking about maybe making a video on it to kind of track some of the improvements and stuff that was coming. Because of my connection with Dan, I was able to get a very lengthy list of patch notes. And they have been doing a good job of adding things, fixing things, battery improvements, battery usage improvements, and all of that sort of stuff, which is good. We're still firmware updating. Come back to this guy when he's all set. We got a pretty full battery as well, so it did come out of the box with enough battery certainly to play around with here for a little while. So Adam saying, thanks for all the suggestions. Notice the 6 terabyte today is a little tight. Maybe you can sell my 6, get some money back. Yeah, if you really want, I think that's a good way to go, honestly. If you really want the second player for the second zone and you get some more storage, you'll almost quadruple your storage. And I don't think you'll have much trouble selling that 6 terabyte. I would recommend to sell it on the Kscape Owners Forum. Or depending on where you're buying from, see if and how old it is as well. Maybe the dealer would be willing to do something with you. A lot of times the dealer may even take it and be able to turn it over to another client or another system, another install very easily, and in an advantaged way for the cost and all that stuff. Ronster, hello Jeremy, sorry late for the show. You should have been here on time. Come on, Ronster. Welcome though. Welcome. We'll still be on for a little while here. David, they're good if you have cable. Yeah, good if you have cable and need direct channel input, but the cleaner, smaller touch is better for streaming households. Yeah, he's talking about the number pad. Yeah, and I am not a cable user. Had been a long time TiVo user, but I cut the cord now 5 or 6 years ago, perhaps. It's been that long with DirecTV. Then DirecTV Stream, and it's 7 other names that it had for a while. And then I've been YouTube TV for the better part of a year or so. We are still updating firmware. I probably shouldn't. Well, I'm picking it up and moving it around. Shouldn't matter. Julius asking, what's going on with the Buckeye amps? I think I started to mention that last week a little bit. Maybe that was around the power outage time or the service outage time. I don't have a order in. I have talked with Dylan about it a bit, but if you go to the Buckeye page, there's a lot of demand, and they're pretty well back ordered. So I think right now, or the last that I checked anyway, here we can do that. They were back ordering into like September, late September. So if you go shop, yeah, NCX 500 amps are on back order. We await new shipment from Hypex. So let's take a look at the 2-channel. Back ordered ETA is end of September. So hopefully, if you really wanted one of these guys, one of these things, you got the order in. Got the order in not too long ago. After we had Dylan on. All right, firmware update is in there. It's rebooting, basically applying the update and rebooting. Triple Flicks, new name. Welcome. After looking at Disney's success or lack, maybe other companies do the opposite of what Disney does. Yeah, in some respects, maybe. Yeah, don't trash your longest running cash cows. For starters. All right, connecting Halo remote to Wi-Fi network. We're booting up, reconnecting, and we back up in a minute. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look at this guy. So now, again, everything is on this touch screen. So we're in the living room, got all the different sources there. So instead of having to hit watch, I don't know if I can do this, navigate it, right? And then navigating up and down with the D-pad, we just have direct access. So if we swipe across, what do we get? Change rooms, watch, lighting, settings. So that's the same stuff that's basically on the home screen. So there's really not a whole lot of difference in what's available. It's just a matter of how you get there. So again, here I'm swiping from that menu to this one, whereas here, so this is watch. Oh, come on, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, that's watch, that's home, it's hard with all these backwards cameras. That's watch, that's home, but it's the same list. Now, they were supposed to have added the comfort controls back in to these things, as I understood in some of the newer firmware. I may not have the super latest firmware. So there I go. Actually, I want to use the D-pad to control what I'm on there, and I can't. So that's interesting, right? It doesn't even give you the option. Wow, it doesn't even give you the option to use the D-pad anymore. You got to go touch for everything. So if we just take a look through the settings, what can you configure? Brightness, adaptive. I just usually, we have the same settings. Let's see if we have the same settings here. Yeah, brightness. So same brightness settings. Again, basically the same screen. You got a lot more screen, though, on the touch model than the non-touch model. So there's brightness. Let's go back. I kind of like, I would kind of almost still like the D-pad to control stuff. We got network info, beep when docked. I think that was just added in the last firmware. Back, there we go. Beep when docked, and then room off confirmation is the only other option. We have the same options here, so there's really no difference. Just swiping just to double check. There's no other real options in there. So they added this stuff in there. Beep when docked. This thing does make a pretty loud noise when you plug it in. It's like a loud, like long kind of chime, rather than just like a little blip or whatever. So I could understand maybe some people find that annoying. And then room off confirmation. If I just go back, my room isn't on right now, but it's not going to show it actually. Let me turn the room on. So I just clicked Apple TV. Of course, these are connected to the same room, so they're changing as we do that. We should see the LG coming on behind me. The living room is right behind me there. And we have quick access there on the touch to watch at home. Pretty cool. pretty good. Let me let that come on. There we go. So now when you go to turn your rooms off, and this will be the same for either one of them. The off button, I love this. I think this is a really great feature. The off is on the top. So you're never going to hit it on accident and whatnot. So you hit that, and then there is your confirmation. Turn off room. This will turn off all sessions in this room. Okay or cancel. And again, so that's wow. Yeah, I'd have to get used to it. So I can definitely tell, like, my brain is programmed to expect to use the D-pad to control what's on the screen. So notice if I press here up and down with nothing on the non-touches screen, the TV, it's controlling the Apple TV. But if I hit this and I go up and down, now I'm controlling on the remote, and the screen behind me isn't moving. But if I cancel over here and I go up or down, there's the it's changing. If I go into the room, I'm still controlling the Apple TV. So you can have menus up on the touch remote, because the only way is to touch it. I'd have to. I definitely will have to retrain my brain, I guess, is what that boils down to. But I always like in Control4. I like the iconography. Right, we've got a real Apple TV. Dan was saying that maybe some of the stuff that he was testing wasn't showing up with all the proper icons quite yet. But everything I have is there. We've got a real looking Apple TV. We've got the Kaleidescape, their company logo. PC is a computer. That's the gaming PC. Nintendo has a Switch. And then I have the LG television on here. So if I want to see if there's more, you have to do your swiping, whatever, and you can click in, and the middle button takes you back to the main thing there. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? You folks think? Any ladies out there too? There's actually an increasing number of female viewers in the channel analytics. It used to be like 0.1%, and I think now we're up to like maybe several percent female watchers. Fun fact, fun Techthusiasm fact. So I don't know. This definitely fits the hand better in terms of like being able to hold it here, have access to all the buttons. If you wanted to do the touch screen, you probably would either drop it. I guess it's natural to kind of like drop it down and use your thumb, or more likely you'd keep your thumb around on the hard buttons, and then you would bring your other hand in to kind of actuate a different button. But I'm not really finding a whole lot of other difference here. If I go home and let's see. Oh, there's the fireplace. Excuse me, I got to cough for a second. Oh, all right. So lighting control, you can see a bunch of lights that are configured for the room. Main lights, accent lights. So now we can do touch things in here. If we go to main lights, I can turn them on. Boom. You can see they came on. In the room back there, turn them off. Boom. And then we got the slider for the dimming as well. And I do present a lot of lights in my living room, because we have like this open concept kind of thing. So our dining room, our kitchen, all of it is basically in the space. So if you want to be able to turn stuff off conveniently, Control4 lets you put control for certain lights in rooms that are not technically in that room. Let me show this, because it's kind of like it's really just a lot like the Neo, for all intents and purposes. But for those that are interested, how we actually configure a little bit of the touchscreen elements, let me share this. So yeah, here we're in the living room. This is the app. So again, sharing my Mac screen, running the Control4 app, and we should be able to go into the watch list. Now, how do we do this? It's actually a little bit different in the Mac version. I wonder if we can't fully configure it. Let me check one thing. I might have to show the iPad. No. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I long press there, arrange and remove favorites. And then if I wanted to like change the order of stuff, I can do that. I keep them in the order of kind of preference here. Video sources first, Apple TV is the major one for the room, and then PC over the switch, and then I have the lighting and the fireplace. There's a way to add, I'm not discovering it right now. Favorite to room. No, I don't want to do that. Get rid of you. There's another way to control what you see. Oh, here, comfort, fireplace switch. This is navigating a little different. But you can set the list. That's my settings. You can set the list of what shows up, take things out of the room, put them back in, and all of that. And then there's also, I presume that they've replicated the Neo, and we can actually macro programming in there. Let me do this. One other thing to look at. And again, if anybody has questions about this, fire them off in the comments. But in order to control the special buttons, we need to use Home Composer. So I want to do in a coming stream, I've already been talking with them about it, getting together with Dan, and I would like to do like a whole Control4 focused live stream where we have like Dan and I online together, we pull up Home Composer and we talk about like what kind of things can you do. I've got a pretty elaborate Control4 setup here. There's a lot of things in the system. I've got, I think, what are some kind of novel programmed macros and in other things that are part of the system, and basically blow that kind of whole thing out and go over it all. So I have to go to my Windows VM. Unfortunately, one of the shortcomings of Control4, there is no Mac Composer app. So you have to run it in Windows. And here we are. It's loading my system right now. It's a pretty slow load. Normally not this slow. What we'll see is the room list pop in on the left and all the devices and stuff like that. And we should see here in the living room. Yep, there we go. Living room Halo Remote 2. So this is the touch. The other one is the non-touch. And actually, let me show the non-touch first. What we've been able to do, or what I was able to do in here, if you go to properties, right, you have button 1, 2, 3. That's the top dashed customizable buttons at the top. You can give them names. And then over in the programming section, you can program whatever you like in them. In the theater, I use them for my lens memories. So I have a 16:9, a 185, and a 240 ultra scope settings. And then in here, properties, actions. Interesting. So the Neo gave you the ability to program in a menu of fully customizable buttons, and you could get 6 of them. I think it was 5 or 6. You could name them whatever you want. And then you could program them to do whatever you wanted them to do. And I'm not seeing that in here. So that's kind of disappointing. I wonder if it's not ready yet. I'll have to talk to Dan about this. Because quite honestly, if you can't get a customizable page and you got to it by swiping on the Neo, you got to it by swiping to the side. On here, I would expect maybe there would be a third icon on the bottom. So you'd have like watch, home, or then like custom, or something along those lines. But there's nothing in here. Start firmware, events. Oh wait, button 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it does not apply to the Halo Touch commands. Well, all right. I have to say, I'm not seeing it. I guess I'm not seeing the draw. It's kind of just like the Neo with less functionality. I actually really like, quite honestly, having 3 programmable hard buttons. And the rumor is that they're supposed to be adding functionality to make this a menu. So if I click one of these, it makes a fly out, and I would be able to use the D-pad to select sub options off of that. So instead of having, like in the theater, instead of having 3 buttons for 3 lens memories, I could have 1 button that's like lens memory. You tap it, it brings up a fly out, and then I could pick from multiple options in the list. So yeah. All right. Well, I'll be chatting with Dan tomorrow. Let me know in the comments later on if there's what else we want to talk about with this thing. I'm finding, quite honestly, I'm just finding this to be a little limited. Maybe I'm not. There's something that I don't know yet. Something that I need to unlock in the driver, but I didn't expect to find the things. I didn't find the things that I expected to find in here yet. So maybe they're coming. It did take a while to get this, get this remote out. So yeah, that's it. Almost a little anticlimactic, but it's still the useful takeaway is if you've got a non-touch or you don't want to spend the extra money, I guess I'm not really seeing all the value quite yet. But I'll follow up on that for sure. It'll lead up to a more complete defined review video down the road, or in the coming weeks anyway, and we'll see. Quite honestly, I was hoping not to find reason to be drawn so much to the touch anyway, just because I don't want to spend the extra money on it. I hope I'm just happy enough with my non-touches and leave it at that. All right, last segment, this week in Kaleidescape. Let's take a look. Oh, before I do that, I did want to make mention of this. This is what I was talking about last week when I got cut off, was the didn't even turn off my didn't even turn off the room right. There we go. Yeah, non-touch for the win. One of the things that I had been toying with was the PC, gaming with the PC. So I just wanted to show this off. I think I put it in the community post, but I did move the computer up. It's sitting over there in the room right under the television. And I can now fully and completely confirm that we did have multiple gaming sessions. I played a bunch of Lego Marvel Superheroes with my son. I actually beat the game. We were playing some of the extra missions in that. We played some Heave Ho, 4-player with the family for a couple hours Friday night. And Saturday night. No controller dropouts. So I'm going to be looking for a PC solution, I think, in the living room. A nicer looking case, something that looks like furniture, a more integrated build. I don't know what it is yet, but stay tuned for that. That will be coming as well. So what I wanted to chat about on K was kind of just to do a bit of a check-in, what's going on in the store. So I mentioned, this is a little bit of an at-bat, right? So we can take a look. We can see what's been added. We can chat about, what have you bought? So I know that you Kaleidescape brethren, fellows are out there. What have you bought this week? Sound off in the comments here. Did you upgrade any movies? Did you do any disc to digital? Did you buy pre-orders? What hit the store? What are you looking for? So I think this was a pretty good week, all in all, for digital content, and then in particular with Kaleidescape. So we got some new content sets. I think these are new. I'm logged into my account, so we're not going to be able to actually see some of the pricing on these. Let me zoom in a little bit to do a little bit better. But we got a John Wick collection. Had all of those. Everybody loves Raymond. Okay, I guess. SD. This show ever get a Blu-ray release? I'm surprised. I don't get excited about SD anything anymore. Lord of the Rings, and I think that was the limit. Harry Potter. I think Harry Potter might have been here already. So we got a variety of new content sets, new movies. So we got the pre-order up. I'm not sure when this is supposed to hit digital platforms, the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm kind of excited for this. TMNT came out a little bit. I was a G.I. Joe kid. G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, Star Wars. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of came out at the tail end of my 80s, well, it was 90s property, but my toy property fandom as a kid came along just enough to be at the tail end of it. But this movie is getting some pretty solid review scores, Rotten Tomato scores, and all of that. So Paramount, $29.99. Come on, Paramount, that could be $5 cheaper. There's our Ferris Bueller. I did buy the digital upgrade for Ferris Bueller. Paramount was $4.92. Liked to see that. Definitely like to see that. I went ahead and bought the digital upgrade for Rio Bravo. I must have had this in my old Ultraviolet. I had so many movies come in to my K account. One of the reasons my library is so large from Ultraviolet that I get digital offers for kind of random stuff sometimes. But I'm not I wouldn't say that I'm a super Western fan, but I do want to, at some point in my home theater, I want to visit a few classic Westerns anyway. And then we got World War Z. I believe this was a $4.92 upgrade as well. I've read the book, but I haven't watched this movie. So, hey, interestingly, though, we didn't get Dolby Atmos on this. I don't know if this one has a 4K disc or not, and it's not an HDR, it's UHD. Ferris Bueller is that way as well. Some older content, we did get Atmos with Ferris, though. So I guess when the car jumps, so we'll have to test the scene when they jump the Ferrari, the two parking valleys. That should have a nice little Atmos effect coming over your head. And then, let's see, going back to about the last week, I think we got Jaws 2. I upgraded this one. That was NBC. NBC used one of the good ones, $4.92 upgrade. So pretty nice there. So I added quite a bit, actually. If I look at my movies, stuff that I bought in the last week or so. I did grab a few things out of the sales. So these were digital upgrades. And then these were all $10 or less, give or take. A couple of Disney movies that we've never watched. Figured I'd just throw them into the collection. And then pretty much everything down to about Jaws 2, I think I added within the last week and a half. Adding some more classic stuff. I don't know, I think because I'm on like this older comic kick, I'm like almost a little bit interested in watching some older films if and when I find the time. Julie's saying he's waiting on the Flash 4K disc. Yeah, we have that. We have that up. Actually, it's available to watch actually, but that's a Warner price, unfortunately, right there, $39.99. So that will probably come down, especially given the reception, perhaps in the quality of the film. Eric grabbed it though. He grabbed the Flash. Oh, and the new K remote just released. Nice. Yeah, I want to get one of those as well. I don't really have much of a use to use it, but I just want to have it to be able to comment on it and stuff. I actually sent them a note maybe to see if they would like to send one to review. If not, I'll just end up buying it. But what else do we got here? Oh, the other thing that I wanted to comment on is kind of an ask for the Kaleidescape system is, these DC's done a lot better. If you like superhero stuff, right? And you want to watch some superhero movies, you're kind of like you've been better off with the Marvel live action and the DC animated stuff. Um, Marvel does really poor with their animation, while Spider Verse aside, although you could technically say that's probably Sony. Um, but aside from Spider Verse, like they haven't really done a great job with animation. What If on Disney Plus was pretty good. That was technically part of the MCU. Um, but other than that, like Marvel animation, actually, particularly feature length stuff, I think is very underdeveloped. DC though, they do it right. They actually take good comic book stories and they make really great animated movies out of them. So I think War World, this is a recent Superman storyline that is pretty well regarded. I think this movie was a little bit mixed, but Kaleidescape, Warner Brothers, come on. These DC animated movies, like by and large, hit the Kaleidescape store in HD, and they're always Dolby Vision 4K on iTunes, and they usually get disc releases as well. So I don't know why this is like one of those. It's one of those gaps that just for whatever reason, that one little pocket of content, Warner doesn't give them the assets. But there's a lot of these films, and like I highly recommend them. Um, but a lot of them just don't come in 4K. But if you want to watch some good stuff, there's plenty to choose from. I'm a little bit behind in watching all of the current releases, but man, Killing Joke, that one, I think they took some liberties with that story, quite honestly. But Hush, awesome story there. Mask of the Phantasm, that's from the 1990s, or yeah, 1990s Batman animated series. This just got announced for a 4K upgrade that's coming soon. There's another one I'm looking for. Yeah, Year One, another Frank Miller story. Dark Knight Returns, Part One and Two. And these are like classic comic book stories done really well in an animated format. But by and large, again, like here's another one like HD, right? Super Sons HD, The Long Halloween, another super classic Batman limited series HD. So I don't know what's going on there. They need to plug that. They need to plug that gap. I'm waiting for Spider Verse as well. My understanding is that we're going to get this next Tuesday. Digital platforms. I pre-ordered it back in July. So super excited for this. We just watched. I think I commented in the last live stream. The family. We just rewatched the Into the Spider Verse. So we got across, kind of coming as well. So yeah, I plunked down some cash in the store this week. 21 movies. Rob's saying he just pre-ordered the Boogeyman. Is that a new remake? Yeah, 2023. I haven't really get into horror movies much anymore. It's been a long time, probably. Really, A Quiet Place, if you want to call that a horror movie. And I never have watched the sequel yet. That's probably the last like scary movie. My wife and I we actually watched that one together. But aside from that, it's probably been a good while since I've really watched any meaningful horror flick. Actually, Julia's saying he's got Rio Bravo on DVD. Good movie. Yeah, the the Rotten Tomato scores and all of that are up there. Another one I really want to watch these guys here. The Man with No Name trilogy, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, and for a few dollars more. They're all in 4K now here, and yeah, I've got them, got them ready to go. The things that I'm waiting for as well, if you're waiting for anything in the K store, um, actually, I'm waiting for the Studio Ghibli Super Bundle. So come on there, $5.99. As soon as that hits, man, I'm buying all 20 of them, or 19 of them, or whatever. I haven't bought yet. I think I might have only have bought one or two as we've watched them. But I really want to see this. It's time for Rocky to get its 4K upgrade across the series. And we really need to get the Leica animation movies upgraded as well. So these have all been available on iTunes in 4K DV and that stuff for a little while. I think they've all got their 4K discs now. So hoping to see that that hole filled also. Bruce Lee's another one. I think that was just recently announced for a 4K update. And I think I've watched Enter the Dragon, but I'm sure I've probably seen some of the other of his movies. But I'd really love to like just sit down and watch the whole series, and I'd like to do it in 4K on Kaleidescape. I think a disc package is coming. Criterion had the last major like remaster upgrade of those films, so I don't know if they're going to hold it as again for the 4K upgrades, or Kaleidescape might be able to get it. But there are, I think, 4 of the 5 of Bruce Lee's films available on the platform right now. So Rob saying horror is my all-time favorite genre. I got into horror more longer ago. Again, like right in the wheelhouse of probably watching them when I shouldn't have watched them, like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th series. Like all that stuff was coming out as I was probably a late adolescent, teenager-ish. But it hasn't really been a genre that I've stuck too much with. So Jerry commented, I have both the Halo and Halo Touch currently active in my TV room, trying to figure out which I prefer. So let's see, can you confirm that the non-touch backlit controls are significantly brighter? Ooh, the backlit controls. Let's see. Let me turn the lights on. Yes. I probably can't. Actually, let me do this. I don't know if you'll be able to see because it's into the light. Yeah. But you can actually see they're both on. And even in this video, this is the non-touch. And you can actually, it actually looks like the lights are on. This one, it doesn't, but they're on. If I hold them up in the dark, yeah, it's a lot brighter. Very, very much brighter. Is that a differentiation factor for you, Jerry? Do you need the buttons, or do you want them to be softer? I don't think there's a control for that. The brightness setting, let me double check. I believe the brightness setting only controls the screen. Oh no, there's a keypad brightness. It's all adaptive. So adaptive. So let me turn off adaptive, and then if I, yep. So this one was set, well, adaptive set it to a little bit less than there. So let me look at this one just to make sure we're on the same setting. I got to figure out how to get there. Settings, brightness. No, they were the same. So the keypad brightness was set to the same level, but this one is much brighter at the same setting. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. Yeah, even when they are adjusted the same, they are different. Correct. That's correct. Non-touch is considerably brighter at the same level. Carl, welcome, Carl, saying, do you think Kaleidescape or any other competitors will become a mainstream device in most homes in the near future? Probably not. They have a long, so let's say Kaleidescape has a long way to go to drop the price to be anywhere close to mainstream. I think that they could make product offerings to help make them more accessible, available, and tenable to more of the like the niche base, right? It's really like they're really in the luxury of the niche. They could get into like the premium tranche a little bit more, not just kind of the luxury with the price points if they did it. But if we talk mainstream, I don't likely see that. Definitely not near future. But we'll see what the longer term future holds. And quite honestly, as well, like they don't have they don't really have a competitor. Um, so we'll see what happens with if any other service or company sees fit to stand up and tries to make a Kaleidescape competitor. I probably don't really see that happening too much, um, or a likelihood of that happening coming up. Um, just I don't know if it's profitable enough space in competing against streaming, and when there's already an entrenched and very like well regarded and favored business in the space. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. One other thing that just to kind of point out here, a couple other what's in the store lately is with regards to sales. I just saw it pop up. We do have one super bundle. Come on, it's almost too many things on. There we go, super bundle. So this is different than the content set, or actually is it? Let's see. Complete your collection, save even more. Oh no, okay, they're just limited special pricing. So it's on. I can't see the prices. It's on sale, but it's also the content set is on sale. So if you don't have this, the Despicable Me franchise, you might want to kind of pick up on that special pricing as well. There's still actually some new stuff is popping up in here. We've got some sci-fi on sale this week. Their sales usually start on Tuesdays as well, just so you know. Interesting. There's a few movies. G Kids actually popping up in here. I might have to revisit this and actually buy a few things. I got a lot of check boxes though, so if I sort by unowned, I didn't last time I checked in here. I didn't see a whole lot that I might be making a purchase on. We'll see, Julius. Do you have movies on your NAS? I do have some. I don't really actively rip and build the ripped collection. But there's still, say, some content, historical content, some classic stuff, 80s cartoons and things like that that are not readily available anyway else that I've kept on there. Transformers, G.I. Joe, and stuff. A lot of that's not even readily available to buy on iTunes, unfortunately. And there's a variety of movies. I'm probably overdue to actually like go and delete, because about a year and a half ago, I was starting to build that up a little bit more. I was making a lot more content around the ripping process and all of that. Kind of in conjunction with that, I did fill out the server a little bit, but we just never use it. We just use Kaleidescape or iTunes. So I think we're right here at the 2-hour mark, and we've covered the topics that I was looking to get to tonight. Some fun discussion. Had quite a big crew there for a little while. It's getting to be later into the evening. I do super appreciate the monster chat, the master super chat, super thanks from Jack C. And those are always welcome and always appreciated. I'll be on my way tomorrow. So if you see me, if anybody actually here, are you going to Audio Advice Live? If you are, I'll be walking around in the Techthusiasm shirts. Stop me and let's chat. Hoping to have a good time there. I do want to try to prod all the other guys to see if we can do like the super stream Saturday night again or something like that. I thought that was really fun. Do the mega awesome super assemble multicast if we can do it. But yeah, it'll be a good weekend. I'm really eager to check out their chair. I did put up the community post. They, in conjunction going into the weekend, they formally Audio Advice launched their new home theater chair, the Revelation or Revolution. Looking pretty good. So I'm curious Revelation. I'm curious to sit in that, give that a look. me, it looks pretty Valencia-ish, but I think they made a couple of unique design decisions there. So I'm eager to check that out. I'm eager to talk to the JVC folks. Try not to drool on the NZ9. That'll certainly be in one of the demo rooms. I think they're going to have a lot more home theater experience spaces, plenty of audio spaces, but more home theater experience spaces than they had in the prior year. Looking forward to the panels and all of that. I still do have a handful of Infuse codes as well. They're good for a year of Infuse Pro. If anybody's interested in those, let me know, or just reach out through like jeremypyle.com or whatnot. Happy to give the rest of those out. I have maybe a few other giveaways coming up. And in terms of content that's on its way, I had made, I just Monday, 2 days ago, uploaded the video about like some more Apple TV setting type stuff. I've got another one about Apple TV and like controlling other devices with IR, learning remotes and all of that. And then I got another video made where I kind of tackle a question that I fielded a bunch, specifically about content and content libraries and all of that, specific to like downloading and whether you can like back your stuff up and if that's a viable thing anymore. So, and then I'll have some reflective stuff next week. Live stream, probably focus on like reflections from audio advice. I'm still not sure what my content stack for audio advice is going to look like. Again, we've got a handful of other creators going. There's going to be a bunch of content, and I'm trying to figure out how can I do something unique. I also had a little bundle of joy sent from this company, Cool Gadget. So they had reached out to me. They're like, hey, do you want anything from our store? We'll send it to you if you'd like to make a video. So I got like this headlight thing. I got a little portable vacuum cleaner and some other cables and stuff. So I'll spin out a little video about that coming up. And yeah, that's about it. I've got one more question here from Jerry. Will you do a deep dive on the Halo Touch? Not sure how much the screen can be customized. Yes, I will. So ultimately my plan for this is, again, I had bought these. I bought 2 of the non-touches, given that this thing had undergone such a large delay. I think they wanted to have this thing out earlier in the year in conjunction with the non-touches, and now we're in August and they're just becoming available. But Dan got them, so he brought this one over, gave me the ability to tinker around with it, make some content about it, whatever. So I'll be using it, and I'll give my thoughts. I'll probably publish a formal review and go into those specific details of what ultimately can you do with it, and provide some kind of a verdict whether I think it's worth it or not. And ultimately, though, I will speak with my own dollars, because if I find the Touch to be the one to be very superior to the non-touch, I'll end up wanting it, or 2 of them, perhaps for both of the spaces. So I have to say, though, per what we saw here tonight, I'm a little underwhelmed. There's a few features that I expected to find that maybe are just not there yet, and it goes directly into your comment, Jerry. The screen isn't really very customizable, much at all. We get the ability to do, our icons and put our stuff, favorite things to the screen and change the order. But I did not find any facility to do like custom buttons yet, like swipe to the side. So we have even less functionality than the Neo had in that regard. But maybe it's just not there yet. It just needs some firmware updates. So last call. Any other final comments, questions, suggestions, anything along those lines? My throat's starting to get a little bit raw anyway, so good timing. Fun, action-packed 2 hours here. Last chance if you want to drop any of those super thanks and super chats to fund my audio advice weekend. Always welcome and appreciated. Not required. Yeah, so we had a couple of lighter weeks these last couple weeks with the vacation and all that stuff, but yeah, I'm back. So we'll be getting back into more live streams. I got I think some really fun ideas for the next few weeks. And stay tuned. Lots coming. And our road to 10K. Maybe by Labor Day, we will see. All right. That looks like it. Awesome. Thanks everybody. Very fun time tonight. Really appreciate it. And stay tuned. I'll also too, like I would say, if you want to see a little bit more content along the way, check out my Instagram. It'll be a lot easier to kind of toss up thoughts, quick reels, and stuff like that from Audio Advice on IG. So I probably will do that more, and then follow up into next week with more of the YouTube specific discussion content and all of that. So yeah, thanks so much. Have a great one, everybody, and come on back for more home theater discussion and fun.